Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Washington State Quarter Value coins. In this video, we'll explore the worth, iconic designs, hidden treasures, and shocking history behind the top 3 most valuable and expensive Washington State quarters from the United States of America. The coins we'll be revealing today include 2003 P State Quarter, 2003 D State Quarter, 1995 P Washington Quarter. These coins are made from copper-nickel-clad metal, the standard composition for modern U.S. quarters. Some state quarters, like the 2003 Alabama issue, feature the famous Helen Keller reverse design, honoring one of the most inspiring figures in American history. Others carry classic state-themed artwork that represents America's heritage and culture. At first glance, these quarters may look completely ordinary. Many are dirty, worn, and heavily circulated, showing years of everyday use. But don't be fooled. Because certain mint marks, rare errors, and high-grade conditions have turned some of these common-looking quarters into valuable collector pieces. Today, select examples can be worth thousands, or even far more, dollars. So before you spend that old quarter sitting in your pocket or coin jar, stick around, because you might be holding a hidden fortune in your hands. Backhand index pointing right first up. Coin number 1. Take a slow look at this coin in your hand. The year says 2003. There's a small P mint mark. The reverse shows Helen Keller seated peacefully, with her name written in standard text and in Braille. It feels ordinary. It looks like every other quarter you've seen. Maybe it's dirty. Maybe it's scratched. Maybe it has been passed from store to store for years. But online, you may hear dramatic words, rare, worth millions, don't spend it. So let's slow the story down and understand what this coin really is. The 2003 P Alabama State Quarter is part of the historic 50 State Quarters program. On the front, it carries the familiar portrait from the long-running Washington Quarter series. On the back, it honors Alabama with a tribute to Helen Keller, one of the most inspiring figures in American history. Her image on a circulating U.S. coin was groundbreaking. It was the first time Braille appeared on American coinage. That alone makes it culturally powerful, symbolically important, historically meaningful. But symbolism and value are not the same thing. This coin was struck in Philadelphia in very large numbers. It is made from copper-nickel clad over a pure copper core. That means it is not silver. It is not gold. Its metal value is very low. If you look at the edge, you can see the copper stripe in the center, proof of its modern clad construction. It was created for everyday circulation, for vending machines, for grocery stores, for normal commerce. Now let's address the big claim directly. Can a 2003 P Alabama quarter be worth millions? In normal, heavily circulated, dirty condition, no. A worn example with scratches, faded details, and years of handling is almost always worth face value, 25 cents. There were hundreds of millions produced. When supply is extremely high, rarity becomes extremely low. So why do some people talk about shocking value? Because in coin collecting, the only path to extreme price is extreme rarity. That can mean a dramatic mint error, a bold double die where the lettering is clearly doubled, a major off-center strike, a wrong planchet error where the coin was accidentally struck on metal mint for another denomination, or a coin preserved in nearly flawless, high-grade condition, showing full original luster and sharp detail, then certified by a professional grading service. Those coins are rare exceptions. They are not typical pocket change. And even then, the prices are usually in the hundreds or thousands, not millions. The phrase billionaire overnight sounds exciting. It creates urgency. It fuels hope. But the coin market operates on verified sales and documented rarity, not emotion. Heavy circulation actually reduces value. When a coin becomes dirty and worn, fine details fade. Helen Keller's portrait softens. The Braille dots lose crispness. The shine disappears. Collectors pay premiums for condition. The sharper and cleaner the coin, the higher the potential interest. Once wear sets in, the collectible appeal usually drops dramatically. Still, the 2003 Alabama quarter holds real importance. It represents a unique moment in U.S. coinage. It honored a figure associated with resilience, education, and advocacy. It introduced Braille to everyday American currency. That is meaningful. It connects history, design, and public awareness in a small piece of metal. If you truly want to examine your 2003 quarter intelligently, look carefully. Check for obvious doubling in the lettering. Examine the Braille dots. Are they unusually distorted? Look for striking abnormalities that are dramatic, not minor scratches. Compare it with another example. True mint errors stand out clearly. They do not hide in normal wear. So here is the grounded truth. A dirty, heavily circulated 2003 Alabama state quarter with no major mint error is almost always worth exactly 25 cents. It will not secretly contain unimaginable millions. It will not transform your life overnight. But understanding why it is valuable historically, and why it is usually not valuable financially, that knowledge is powerful. Coin collecting is not about fantasy wealth. It is about learning to see detail. Learning to separate hype from rarity. Learning how mass production works, and how rare mistakes sometimes slip through. That awareness is where real advantage begins. So yes, check your change. Yes, look twice at that 2003 quarter. But look with informed eyes. Because the true treasure isn't the dream of instant fortune. It's knowing the difference between a story and reality. Hold that quarter in your hand for a second. The date reads 2003. A small D sits beside it. On the reverse, you see a powerful scene, members of the Corps of Discovery, the historic expedition led by Lewis and Clark, pushing west into the unknown. It feels ordinary. Maybe it's scratched. Maybe it's dull from years of circulation. But online, you may hear bold claims. Rare. Worth millions. Don't spend it. So let's slow everything down and understand what this coin really is. The 2003 Missouri State Quarter is part of the 50 State Quarters program, one of the most successful coin programs in American history. On the front, it carries the familiar portrait from the long-running Washington Quarter series. On the back, Missouri chose to honor the Corps of Discovery, the legendary expedition that mapped the American West in the early 1800s. The design captures motion, ambition, exploration. It represents risk and expansion. That symbolism gives the coin emotional power. But emotion and market value are not the same thing. This quarter was struck at the Denver Mint in very large quantities. It is made from copper-nickel clad bonded over a pure copper core. If you look at the edge, you'll see the copper stripe, proof that it is not silver. Not gold. Just modern clad metal intended for circulation. Its intrinsic metal value is minimal. The reason it would ever sell for more than face value has nothing to do with the metal itself. It would have to do with rarity. Now let's address the dramatic idea directly. Can a dirty, worn, heavily circulated 2003 Missouri quarter be worth millions of dollars? In normal condition, no. These coins were produced in massive numbers. Hundreds of millions entered circulation. When supply is that high, rarity is extremely low. A coin that has been passed from hand to hand for years, losing detail and luster, almost always remains worth exactly 25 cents. So why do you sometimes see headlines suggesting life-changing value? Because in coin collecting, extreme value comes from extreme circumstances. A dramatic mint error. A bold double die where letters visibly duplicate. A major off-center strike where part of the design is missing. A coin struck on the wrong metal blank entirely. These production mistakes are rare. And rarity creates demand. But these are exceptions, not the rule. If a 2003 Missouri quarter were to sell for an unusually high amount, it would almost certainly involve one of those major mint errors or an exceptionally high mint state grade certified by a professional grading service. A coin preserved in nearly flawless condition, with sharp details and strong original luster, can command a premium among collectors competing for top-graded examples. But even then, we are usually talking hundreds or perhaps thousands of dollars, not millions. Heavy circulation actually works against value. When the coin becomes dirty, scratched, and worn, the fine lines of the core of Discovery design soften. Washington's portrait loses detail. The shine fades. Collectors pay for condition. They pay for sharpness. They pay for preservation. Once those qualities disappear, the market interest drops sharply. The phrase "this coin could make you a billionaire overnight" is powerful storytelling. It triggers urgency. It fuels imagination. It makes you look twice at your change. But the coin market operates on documented sales, population data, and verified rarity. There is no hidden vault of $1 million 2003 Missouri quarters waiting in everyday pocket change. Still, the coin carries real historical weight. The core of Discovery represents exploration, courage, and transformation in American history. The design connects modern Americans with an early chapter of expansion and mapping. In that sense, the coin is valuable culturally. It carries narrative power. It tells a story in metal. If you truly want to examine your 2003 D quarter intelligently, look for structural differences, not just wear. Check for dramatic doubling in the lettering. Look for obvious misalignment. Weigh the coin if possible. A wrong planchet error would often show unusual weight. Compare it to another standard example. True rarity stands out clearly. It does not hide subtly in normal scratches. So here is the grounded truth. A dirty, heavily circulated 2003 D Missouri State quarter with no major mint error is almost always worth face value, 25 cents. It will not secretly contain unimaginable millions. It will not create overnight billionaire status. But understanding why that is true, that knowledge is powerful. Coin collecting is not about chasing fantasy wealth. It is about recognizing genuine rarity. It is about understanding how mass production works and how rare mistakes sometimes slip through. It is about separating hype from history. So yes, check your change. Yes, look closely at that 2003 D Missouri quarter. But look with informed eyes. Because the real fortune in this hobby isn't hidden in exaggerated promises. It's hidden in knowledge. Hold that quarter still for a moment. The date says 1995. There is a small P beside it, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia. The reverse shows the classic eagle design, wings stretched wide, arrows below, strength frozen in metal. It feels ordinary. Maybe it's dull. Maybe it's scratched and worn from years of circulation. Yet somewhere online you may have seen dramatic words. Rare. Worth thousands. Don't spend it. So let's slow this down and walk through the real story behind the 1995 P Washington quarter. This coin belongs to the long-running Washington quarter series that began in 1932. By 1995, the design had already been a familiar part of American life for decades. George Washington's portrait on the front. The heraldic eagle on the back. No state designs yet. No special themes. Just a classic American quarter used in daily commerce across the country. Now here's something important. The 1995 P quarter is not silver. It is made of copper nickel clad over a solid copper core. Since 1965, regular circulation quarters have used this layered construction. If you look at the edge, you can see the thin copper stripe between the outer layers. That stripe tells you the metal itself does not hold high intrinsic value. The coin's potential worth would have to come from rarity, not metal content. And this is where many people get confused. The Philadelphia Mint produced a very large number of 1,995 quarters. They were made for everyday transactions. Grocery stores. Parking meters. Banks. Arcades. Because so many were struck, most surviving examples, especially dirty, worn, heavily circulated ones, are worth exactly 25 cents. Nothing dramatic. Nothing hidden. So how do shocking price stories appear? In coin collecting, extreme value comes from extreme circumstances. A dramatic mint error. A bold double die that shows clear, visible duplication in the lettering or date. A coin struck far off center. A wrong planchet error, where the quarter was accidentally struck on metal intended for another denomination. These mistakes are rare because quality control at the mint is strong. When they do slip through, collectors take notice. Condition also matters. A coin that has never circulated, still sharp, still bright, still showing full luster, can command a premium if graded at a very high mint state level. Collectors compete for the best preserved examples. But even in those cases, prices usually reach hundreds or sometimes thousands of dollars, not millions. Now let's speak directly to the big claim. A dirty, heavily circulated 1995 P Washington quarter without a major mint error is almost always worth face value. It will not make you a billionaire overnight. It does not secretly contain unimaginable millions. The hype often comes from exaggerated headlines designed to grab attention, not from verified market reality. But that does not mean the coin has no meaning. The eagle reverse represents an era before the state quarters program transformed modern coin collecting. It reflects continuity, decades of the same national design moving quietly through American hands. Every worn 1995 quarter carries a hidden story. It bought lunches. It rolled through vending machines. It passed between strangers. It was part of daily life during the mid-1990s, a period of economic growth and technological change in the United States. If you want to check your 1995 P quarter intelligently, slow down and examine it carefully. Look at the date and lettering. Check for obvious doubling that is visible without magnification. Observe whether the coin strike looks unusually weak or dramatically misaligned. Compare its weight and thickness to another standard quarter. True mint errors tend to be obvious, not subtle. Heavy wear, scratches, and dirt are signs of circulation, not rarity. In fact, wear reduces collector demand because it removes detail. The sharper and more original a coin remains, the stronger its appeal. Once that sharpness fades, the value typically returns to face value. The real power of coin collecting is not in fantasy wealth. It is in understanding how production, supply, condition, and demand interact. It is in learning to separate excitement from evidence. When you do that, you protect yourself from disappointment and build genuine knowledge. So yes, look at your change. Yes, examine that 1995 P quarter. But do it with clear eyes. Because the true fortune in this hobby isn't found in exaggerated promises. It's found in knowing exactly why a coin is valuable or why it isn't.